Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Thank you all for tuning in to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Evan Beurhle, and it is the first show of the new year. So today, I'm currently recording this on January 4th, first episode of the new year. And, on another hand, we are in the home stretch until pitchers and catchers report for spring training. We only have, let's see, how many days? What's the exact time? So we have 42 days, 9 hours, and 37 minutes on the dot as I am speaking. Spring training's almost here. One of the most boring off seasons of all time is almost coming to a close. Like I said, we're in the home stretch. It can only be so boring for so long because all the big names have to get there at some point. Even if they pull a Bryce Harper and they sign, 2 weeks into spring training or whatever it is, someone's gonna. We're within 2 months. We are within 2 months. Before I get to any news, just a recap of the holidays. So I did Christmas. That's what we talked. Like, I think the last episode I did was the first one after Christmas. We only did one. So since last Monday, nothing's really changed. But can I rant about how pointless of a holiday New Year's Eve is? Like, I'm cool with New Year's. I like the New Year's Day being a holiday and being a day that, most people have off, mainly because, there's a ton of great college football on. And speaking of college football, I get that Ohio State fans are kind of the worst when it comes to college football. They're right up there with, like, Oklahoma and, like, Alabama and Florida and all those guys. But they earned that one. They absolutely earned that one. That was such an incredible game. I could not believe what I was seeing. Honestly, I've been a Justin Fields truther since QB1 came out, and he was on that show. But, yeah, I was shocked. I thought it was going to be more competitive because Trevor Lawrence was absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. But, aside from that, that's a football rant. This is a baseball show. I know you guys probably aren't interested in that. You have so many other outlets where you can listen to college football, especially. You have many on the GSMC Podcast Network. Go listen to those guys if you're looking for New Year's Eve bowl recaps. But New Year's Eve really sucks. Like, you sit around with your family, you stay up all night. They had celebrations, they have the New Year's Rockin' Eve, they have the guys doing the countdown, you have the ball drop in NYC and all that kind of stuff, and, they play that, over and over again, they play that live in New York, and then they have it on a one hour delay in the Midwest, and then, a 2 hour delay for Mountain Time, and then a 3 hour delay for Pacific Time. But besides that, like, what is there to do? Like, you're out. Like, if this was a normal year and you had a party or whatever, at the end of the day, it's just a normal party. Like, no one really stops and thinks about it. If you're at a party and you're hanging out with your friends or whatever, you're not going to be like checking your watch every 10 minutes going like, oh, is it time now? Oh, is it time now? Oh, I can't wait for the ball to drop. It's always for like chicks. I mean, guys don't really care. I don't think. I didn't care. I was in bed by 10:30. I went to the gym. I was like, you know what? I'm cool. I'm in bed 10:30. And it was a wrap for me. I was like, I'm just going to watch this show on Hulu, and that's going to be my night. I'm cool on that. And then could we also talk about how overrated, like, champagne is? I don't know why champagne is a special drink. Give me Martinelli's every day. That sparkling apple cider is amazing compared to champagne. It's terrible. If you're under the age of 21, don't ever drink champagne. It's horrible. Don't ever drink in general because it's all overrated, but especially champagne. It's horrible. Anyways, rant over. We're in 2021. Hopefully this goes better than the last year. It's a very low bar that you have to hop over, but, it is what it is. Let's move on to actual baseball news. We do have a few bits of news to speak on. First of all, in pretty minor news, Evan Marshall re-signed with the White Sox. He avoided arbitration by signing a 1-year, $2 million contract. Very, very affordable for the numbers that he put up. He put up a very, very good season last year. He's 30 years old. He finished 2-1 with a 2.38 ERA in 2020. It was the White Sox first playoff appearance in 2008 and their first winning season since 2012, and he was a huge part of it. He had 30 Ks in 22 and 2/3 innings with a 1.06 whip and over 23 appearances, marking his second season with the White Sox. A great year. Evan Marshall pitched amazing out of the bullpen. And the fact that they were able to re-sign him for a $2 million contract for 1 year to avoid arbitration, I think he could have gotten a lot more. I could have seen him, I think he left probably $5 to $6 million on the table, to be honest, to re-sign with the Chicago White Sox. Now, if they didn't offer him that, and the arbitrator was, going to say something different, but I think if he would have put on the table, like, I want 1 year, 7, I think they would have done that. I don't think they would have taken it to arbitration. I think this was a move where, I scratch your back, now you scratch mine. Later, where his next contract, once he gets off of, this arbitration period, he's going to get a lot more money, which I hope he does, because he had, like I said, a great year. He averaged a career-best 11.91 Ks per 9 inning last season. He had an opposing batting average of .198, a total of 17 for 86, including a 5 for 42, which is a 119 batting average versus left-handers. Pretty much absolutely neutralizing any left-handed batter they faced last year. And as we have come to know that, the left-handed batters are pretty much exclusively power hitters who tend to strike out a lot, but are also going to hit you, between 30 and 40 jacks a year. Maybe sometimes 30 to 50 jacks a year. So you see that kind of stuff, and, a guy like Evan Marshall is able to come in and completely neutralize that power, which is incredible. I think that's worth a little bit more. He signed as a free agent October 30th of 2018. He's a 6-3 record with a 2.45 ERA over 73 and a third innings and 78 appearances in the last 2 seasons. He was one of the pitchers who took the mound in the deciding third game of the AL wildcard series against the A's. He had 2 innings, throwing a season-high 45 pitches. They really rode him. They rode him down in the latter part of the season. They counted on him a whole lot. I hope they pay him a little bit more. That kind of frustrates me a little bit. But it is what it is. Evan Marshall going back to the Chicago White Sox on a very affordable deal. Hopefully the White Sox are able to do something else with it. A little news brewing about Trevor Bauer. So Trevor Bauer is currently in talks with the Toronto Blue Jays. So the Blue Jays are trying to make a big splash in the offseason, and they're finally starting to shift gears and kind of pick it up a little bit. Trevor Bauer is one of the free agents they're going after. He's used his social media channels to tease his free agent all winter. And he posted a video Thursday afternoon. Trevor Bauer going to the Toronto Blue Jays. Now I can see it from a standpoint of his media company, because Trevor Bauer is going to go to a major city. He's not going to go to any of these small cities. So I would say between LA, he's not going to Texas. I would say between LA, New York, Toronto are pretty good. Chicago is a good option. Maybe Miami, but I don't think Miami's going to go after him very hard, and I don't think he really wants to be a Marlin. So he's limiting himself to those type of cities to try and boost his media company and all that kind of stuff. And with that, he's really looking at the Angels, the Mets, the Blue Jays. Those are the top three. The way that the Cubs are working, we'll get to the Cubs later. I don't think they're going to really be pushing for any big name on the market anytime soon. The White Sox, I don't think the White Sox have the bank account to go after Trevor Bauer. They might. I'm not saying that the Evan Marshall deal is anything contingent of it, but there's a chance. I'm saying there's a chance that he could end up a White Sox. I've heard nothing of the sorts. I don't think Boston is going after him, mainly because they've showed zero signs of actually wanting to contend. So Boston seems to be out of it. I'm trying to think of other big cities that have baseball franchises. I think that's pretty much it. Maybe San Francisco, yeah. But San Francisco, I think, is going to go more towards the affordable superstar instead of the big major superstar, especially after they lost on Blake Snell. I thought they were a sleeper to grab, Blake Snell from Tampa Bay. They still have a chance to nab George Springer, but that's looking less and less like an option. So Trevor Bauer could be going to the Toronto Blue Jays. And then lastly, I just wanted to talk about this. Masahiro Tanaka has made waves by saying that he is fully capable of going back to Japan if not picked up by a contending franchise. So he's looking to contend for a World Series or leave. He's not looking at it like he just wants to be in the MLB. And I think that's kind of funny because, we think of the MLB as like this place where everybody wants to be. These superstar like Japanese pitchers, they come over when they're like in their mid-20s, low 30s, coming over, and we'll get to another one of those guys later in the next segment. But Masahiro Tanaka's 32. He came into the league when he was 27, I think it was. It was like 5 years ago. Roughly 5 years ago. And everybody was thinking he's going to ride out his career here. He's going to go to, New York and probably hang out in New York until he retires. But, he's fully open to going back to Japan, which I think would be a pretty good move. I think it would be a pretty, I'm not going to say a pretty good move, but I would say like that is a pretty, I would say a stand-up move for him, just kind of taking his career into his own hands. Like, listen, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to come to win a championship here, or I'm going to go back to Japan where I know I can go compete for a championship there, which is sick. I like that a lot. He earned so much of my respect for this. he's definitely worth a middle of the rotation spot. He had a 3.56 ERA, a 1.17 WHIP in 48 innings in 2020. His career has kind of fluctuated. With his, he's been up, he's had his ups, he's had his downs. He's looking for obviously a multi-year contract, and he's seeking teams that are definitely going to compete. I think he really wants to come back to the Yankees, and the Yankees are still out trying to find someone else. If he wants to stay and you're able to pay him the money, if you can push, I don't think you could push Masahiro Tanaka out as a number 2. I think if you have him at a number 2, you're hurting for the season. But if you can fit him in as a 4 and have Devi Garcia as a 5, and then you're able to put 2 more quality starters in the 2-3 hole for your starting rotation, I think the Yankees have a major chance, especially since he's been, for the most part, I would say more durable than not. He's had his injuries, as most players on the Yankees have, but he's definitely worth taking a chance on. He's been more healthy than Sevy has. He's been more healthy than, Jordan Montgomery. He's been more healthy than, James Paxton's been pretty healthy. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. He's going to be, he's going to be in the lineup. He's going to be ready to go. You have a chance to win every time he goes out there. So I think that Masahiro Tanaka should get a spot to come back with the Yankees. He wants to re-sign with the Yankees. And if that doesn't happen, he's thinking about going back to his original team, the Rakuten Golden Eagles, who were his team from 2007 to 2013. Not bad. Not bad, Masahiro. I respect the heck out of that. All right, everyone. I'm going to be taking my first break, and I will be right back to talk about not only Yu Darvish, because that trade happened, I think, 25 minutes after I stopped recording the last episode. But we have some more news on Tomoyuki Sugano. And I will be right back after this break.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Alrighty, everybody, before we get to the San Diego Padres pretty much turning the consensus number 1 overall pitching prospect in all of baseball into a glorified 6th starter for the next season, not next season, but I would say in 2022, let's talk about what's his name? Tomoyuki Sugano. So, Sugano, his deadline is approaching. Now, he does have offers. There's reports that he does have offers from professional teams in the United States. So, MLB teams have gone after him. They have. He's been posted since December 8th, giving him until 5 p.m. Thursday to negotiate with MLB clubs. He does have offers. There's been rumors that the Giants have gone after him. There's been rumors that, let's see, it's the, I had a list of everybody who had an offer out for him. I think it was the Blue Jays, the Giants, the Angels have gone after him. I think it was, just there's a few teams that have, contacted him about his services. He's had a pretty good career in Japan. He's 31 years old. He's 101-49 with a 2.32 ERA and 1,214 strikeouts in 1,360 innings in an 8-year career. Not terrible. Not terrible at all. He's got the opportunity to be, I would say, a third starter. I think the Mets have also gone after him, and I think the Yankees have as well. I think I read that the Boston Red Sox and Chicago Cubs are also on that list, but he only has a few offers as of right now. With all those teams, I don't think they're going to be able to, I don't think they would say more than a few if it was up to, that kind of standards, if they had like 10 teams going after him. But that's all beside the point. Sugano, let's be fair, I haven't seen any of them. I've never seen him pitch before. I've never seen any tape on him, anything like that. I haven't even read his scouting report. I just have the stats that are placed out in front of me. As a 31-year-old, I don't see him as more than a 3. And, having him as a 3, I think you're kind of pushing it. But that's because I'm skeptical. I'm more skeptical than anything because normally 30 is around the time where the Japanese pitchers kind of fall apart. I mapped this out before with Yu Darvish. 30 was a rough year for him. Daisuke Matsuzaka, 30 was a bad year for him. Hideo Nomo, as great as he was, he had a ton of bad years. Just smacked right around a few of the good years that he had. It's not a foolproof system when you're getting a Japanese pitcher. Masahiro Tanaka is on the wrong side of 30. When he turned 30, it's kind of, it kind of went downhill. But when he came into the league, he was looking at like a young superstar. And, that's just how it's going. It's too early to tell about Shohei Ohtani, but I think he needs to choose. I don't think the art of the two-sided or the two-way player is going to be going anywhere. I don't think you're going to be able to have him pitch and then have him hit as well because, the damage to his elbow and the rehab and all that kind of stuff is, you can say that doesn't have anything to do with his hitting, but it definitely does. You can tell because when he's healthy, he has way more, he's just way more intimidating than he is when he's not. And, we've only seen him healthy for a very short amount of time. That being said, I think it would be great for the Giants. I think Sugano would be awesome for the Giants. He played for the Yomiuri Giants. They've extended him a 4-year offer, so he does have a chance to come back to the Nippon Professional Baseball League. But so we'll see what happens with him. We will, by Thursday, so by the next episode, it'll be by 4 p.m. Central Time is the deadline, 5 p.m. Eastern. So I'll probably be done recording by then because I have a deadline where I need to get the episodes out. Like I'm recording this at 2 o'clock Central Time. So I don't know if knowing how my timing is, it'll probably be around the time when I'm done and sending off the episode to my manager. That'll be the time that this guy decides to sign wherever he decides to sign. So I'll probably be getting to it by next week's episode. So yeah, let's move on from Sugano and go to the San Diego Padres. Now the Padres, rumors came out that they were going after Yu Darvish as I was recording, and then by the time I sent the email and went to go grab a snack before I went on to do what I had planned to do for the rest of my day, I got a text message from the ESPN app saying, hey, Yu Darvish is off to San Diego. I didn't understand. I thought that was crazy. I was like, how were they able to do that? And first of all, I thought for a fact they would have to give up Mackenzie Gore. The fact that they were able to keep Mackenzie Gore for two Cy Young quality pitchers last season is mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. Now, I went over the prospects that they got for Blake Snell last year, or on the last episode, I should say. So I think that, I don't really have to go over them. They got the Tampa Bay Rays. You can tell what they're focused on. They're way more focused on the pitching rotation than they are the batting lineup. As you can tell with them getting, I think, 3 pitching prospects and then an outfielder. Well, the Chicago Cubs are way more focused on the lineup than they are the pitching staff. They got 1 pitcher, Zach Davies, and then they got 2 outfield prospects, Owen Casey and Ismael Mena. And then they got 2 shortstops in Reginald Preciado and Isan Santana. So it looks like they're forming the middle infield. So that leaves me to be curious about a couple things. Maybe they're focusing on moving Chris Bryant to the outfield or even trading Chris Bryant for more prospects. Could Javi Baez be on the move? Addison Russell, I don't think they have any trust in him anymore after what, has inspired from his career, especially after, having such promise. I remember hearing about Addison Russell in the minor leagues when he was still for the Oakland A's, and man, you hear the stories and you're just like, man, this kid's going to be legit. And then he gets to the bigs and he has a few good years and you're like, oh, this guy's going to be the future. And then, he had his off the field issues and then he's having his on the field batting issues and his fielding. He's kind of losing confidence in his fielding and his range and all that kind of stuff. So it's really difficult to watch. But I think that the Cubs have really, made their decision that they're going to plan to move on from Addison Russell once his contract expires. I don't know when that is. So maybe they're just trying to ride it out. Javi Baez is going to be a free agent next season. Maybe they're just gearing up, just expecting him to leave. Maybe he could be on the trade block this year. You don't really know. Maybe they're going to be, using spring training and, the next 6 months to be getting a feel on, negotiations on if Javi Baez is going to go test the free agent waters. And if he does test the free agent waters, there's no real way that you can guarantee that he's going to come back, even if he says, I'm just going to test it, whatever. So he could, the Cubs could be seeking a trade. So Yu Darvish, is following a season where he started 12 games and posted a career-best ERA plus with 2.21 and a strikeout-to-walk ratio of 6.64. Enough of Yu Darvish, though. I feel like everybody's talking about Yu Darvish, but nobody's talking about the prospects that they were able to get in return for Yu Darvish. So I'm going to take this in a full-on Cubs approach because everybody's super, die hard, all in on the Padres making a few moves. Granted, these moves are a lot better than the last time they tried to develop a super team, but, this super team move is just another move by the Padres. I'm all in. I love it, but I'm going to take a little bit of a twist to it. So let's talk about Owen Casey. Owen Casey was a Michigan recruit. He has the tools to fit, the right field profile pretty rare. He has raw power. He has legit pop from a left-handed side of the plate. He's able to drive the ball to all fields, so that's something that's going to be really good for, Chicago, especially, once really all you got to do is hit it up in that jet stream, and that ball's going to go, as we saw with how many home runs were hitting Wrigley Field this year, which I thought was probably 1,000, especially in that dang White Sox series, where I think there was 7 in every single game. It was absolutely insane. I think Jose Abreu had 8 by himself. Anyways, moving on. Some scouts have questioned his path, the bat path, so his swing is a little bit messed up. There's concerned, about him, his ability to get to that power spot, where he's able to really connect, square up the ball, and drive it. But he's shown the ability to make adjustments throughout his career. So the scouts are looking at him as, somebody who doesn't really have it yet, but is going to get it through the minors, which is looking like a good sign for the Chicago Cubs. And he's got he's an above average runner. He has an above average arm. So once he's able to crack the bigs, he looks like he's somebody who can, really fill that right field position really well. Maybe he'll, be able to take it from Jason Hayward, so you'll be able to save some money afterwards. So Cubs fans, good something to rely on. Ismael Mena, this guy I'm the most excited for. Reading his scouting report was awesome. He looks great. He's super young. I think he's only like 17. But this is from his scouting report. Mena covers the strike zone pretty well and hits everything hard from the left side of the plate. So another left-handed bat. He has a knack for barreling up balls and has the potential for future average power. Through his hitting ability, it stands out more than his pop. So, he's going to be somebody who's going to get on more than he's going to hit home runs, but he still has the ability to drive the ball out of the ballpark. He's sounding kind of, the last time I read a scouting report kind of like this, it was Byron Buxton. He's saying he projects to hit second or third in the lineup, but could eventually be a leadoff hitter because of his hitting tools and his plus speed, which makes him a base stealing threat, and he is above average defensively. So when I was back in the day, when I was really into, the high school recruiting thing, when I was in high school, I loved reading the scouting reports of all the high school players and all that kind of stuff. This is almost identical from what I remember of Byron Buxton. People were projecting Byron Buxton to be kind of like a Torrey Hunter. And, ironic, he goes to the Minnesota Twins with that. But, his power never really developed until this last season. I think this last season he really came through, mainly because he's been injured pretty much the entire time. But, he's got tremendous speed. He's able to make good contact. He drives the ball very far. He's able to barrel up. His above average defensive abilities, his amazing speed. I think that, you have a new right fielder and a new center fielder in Chicago in the upcoming years. You just kind of got to wait it out until they get up. Hopefully they don't do something stupid and trade these guys, because after reading the scouting report and watching a little bit of a video of like their abilities on YouTube, I was pumped. I was like, okay, the Cubs got some guys. Now for the middle infield, Reginald Preciado, I think he was 17 as well. He was the best prospect out of Panama in the 2019 international class. He's a lean and athletic shortstop with a large frame, and, he has the body type that's going to project well into the MLB. He's a switch hitting shortstop. He drives the ball with hard contact from the right side and sprays the ball from gap to gap on the left side. So he looks like he's a right-handed power hitter naturally. Left side, he's more of a gap to gap kind of a guy. One person that reminds me of is 100% Ozzie Albies. They're saying that he's lean and tall, so he has more of a, he has a better, body type. He's going to be able to stack on a bit more muscle, maybe get his quick twitch muscles a little bit more, get him going a little bit more. But, he sounds exactly like Ozzie Albies, except, taller. He has good rhythm and good body control from the plate. He's only 17, so he has an excellent feel for hitting and getting bat to ball on a consistent basis. There's good bat speed. There's potential for power in the future as he adds, weight. He's 6'4", and he's 185 pounds. If he's able to get to around 205, or I would say 200 to 205, he's going to be able to drive the ball out of the ballpark even more. So the Cubs, if you're a Cubs fan, you should be drooling, because I'm not even a Cubs fan, and I am jealous that you guys have these guys in your farm system. And then lastly, let's talk about Yeson Santana. He's selectively aggressive, and is very advanced for his age at the plate. He's shown that he can do some damage on pitches in the zone. That's a part of his scouting report. Let's be very clear. Selectively aggressive should stand out to every single baseball player when you're reading about a guy. Every single baseball fan. Selectively aggressive. That word fires me up. Because he knows what he wants, and when he sees what he wants, he goes after it and doesn't think twice. That is incredible. You know, for a young player like that to be able to completely break down like the inside or outside part of the plate and, you know, figure out, okay, this is the situation that I'm in. I need to get a pitch in this area, and if I'm not getting it, I'm not getting it. It is what it is. I'll have to get to 2 strikes and probably fight off something, but until that I reach that point, you know, I am going to wait. I'm going to be patient, but if he messes up and gives me something on that side, I'm going to do some major damage. That is incredible. You know, he's got good foundation for development, processing a blend of bat speed, patience, and feel for the barrel, with remaining a physical projection that points towards future power gains. So he's going to be able to put on more weight, drive the ball out of the ballpark. Obviously, I think that's for everybody who's at a young age, who's kind of like a slender type of guy. You know, once you are able to, you know, finish growing, you'll be able to put on some more powers, as seen with, you know, guys like Christian Yelich, who are very thin. And then even back into the a little throwback here, we even go back to Sean Green, where there's a lot of like slender guys who are just ripping balls out of the ballpark, and that's because, you know, they finally finished growing and they were able to sculpt their bodies the way that they wanted to. You know, Santana has proven difficult to strike out early in his career and showing a penchant for quality opposite field contact. I love opposite field contact. Driving the balls to all fields is something that I think is kind of fading out of the game. I think that they're favoring more homers than they are, you know, being able to, you know, work counts to get on base. A guy like this is a guy that I want on my team, like, so bad. Defensively, Santana looks like a future big league shortstop. He's twitchy and athletic with smooth actions. He's got a plus arm strength and plenty of range, and he plays the position with a ton of confidence. I think that, you know, he fits more. I think with the arm strength, I think they're going to put Santana more as the third baseman. Just with the arm strength and the confidence, I feel like they're going to move him, or, you know, one of these guys is going to end up playing third base. Either Preciado or Santana, if they don't move one of them for another player in a trade. You know, I feel like one of these guys is going to end up playing third base, or they're going to trade one of them and both of them are going to end up playing shortstop. Either way, I'm going to be following their careers because I cannot wait until these guys are up in the big leagues. They seem like they are absolutely electric, and every team should want guys like these. All right, guys, I'm going to be taking a quick break, and I will be right back to talk some more rumors.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Rumor time.
pretty much, as you guys are well aware of, this is all we got. But this is a weird rumor, a rumor that I don't agree with at all whatsoever. I think this is dumb. This is a dumb trade for the Cubs. So we're staying with the Cubs, obviously. It's been a Cubs-filled type of day. But, you know, they traded catcher Victor Caratini, to the Padres and deal with Yu Darvish for some more prospects. But Chicago is looking like they're not actually done yet. Last Tuesday night, a report surfaced that the Cubs were extensively shopping catcher Wilson Contreras. I don't know why I said Jose, but Wilson Contreras. Now, Wilson Contreras is without question my favorite catcher in the game, and he's arguably top 5 favorite players in the game today. Me personally. I love Wilson Contreras. Why they would give him up is beyond me. Hoyer came out and said, quote, Wilson Contreras, I think he's one of the top handful of catchers in baseball. We control him for 2 more years. I think that catching is a strength of this team as a result of having him on the roster. Blanket statement. Doesn't really mean anything. So the GM is saying that, you know, he's going to stay, quote unquote, or that's what that's insinuating. He goes on to say, let's see, should I get to that quote actually? Let me read it again. Where he said, okay, so that's talking about the next prospect. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Wilson Contreras. Why they would even look to trade him is ridiculous. I don't like it. I think that he is a lot better than what his numbers say, because his numbers are good for catchers. For catchers, they're great. But for, you know, the average kind of player, you know, you're looking at it and you're like, it's not that great. Because, see, this is his stat line from, let's go from 2019. He was an all-star in 2019. He played 105 games. Let's see, he batted .272. He had a .355 on-base percentage, a .533 slugging, which leads to an .888 OPS. He had a 127 OPS plus a career high. He had, 24 homers, 64 RBIs, 38 walks, 98 hits. You know, but, I mean, with only playing 105 games and the guy hit 24 homers, you can tell if he would have had a normal, season, a full season where he was able to play even up to 2018 where he was played 33 more games, he probably would have hit 30 homers and had about 70, 80 something RBIs in that span. That's great for catchers. That's unbelievable for catchers. But, when you're looking at it in the grand scheme of, the overall players, like 30 jacks, cool, but there's so little RBIs, on a team that's built the way that it is built, it's not looking that great. Let's go to fielding. So in 5 full seasons as a catcher, he's played a total of 438 games, which is a total of just under 3,500 innings. So in just under 3,500 innings, he has a .988 fielding percentage. He has a 13 fielding runs above average. He has a defensive run saved of 4, which, isn't great, but it's not bad. Especially as a catcher, you don't really save a lot of runs as a catcher. That's more of a, kind of an outfielder, middle infielder type thing. But let's go into wild pitches. So wild pitches, he's got 141 wild pitches in 3,500 innings. He's given up 191 steals, but he's caught 88 runners stealing, which is a caught stealing percentage of 32. So 1 out of every 3 batters who steals gets caught by Wilson Contreras. That is very good. So you're looking at it like Wilson Contreras. He could be. There's also reports that are saying that if Wilson Contreras is on the trade block, they should go after him before even confronting JT Realmuto. Which I believe, I would do that too. I would definitely go after Wilson Contreras before Realmuto. But, there's also reports that they're not going to be, trying to deal Wilson Contreras, because one thing that's, pushing towards him staying in the Chicago system is, their backup catcher is Miguel Amaya, who is number 3 in the top 30 Cubs prospects list and number 91 in the overall top 100 for the MLB, but he's not being, quote, not considered for that job right now. So Hoyer came out and said, I don't see him as an option right now, certainly to start off the season. We're excited about how he's playing in winter ball, and he's a great prospect, but no, he's not someone that we're penciling in. Obviously, we're going to be on the lookout for someone to replace Vic. So looking for a backup catcher right now. But this could mean not this season, but next season, Wilson Contreras could be on the move. He could be on the move this season because the first quote that I read is, that didn't really lead into much. It didn't really give a lot of, insight on what they were doing. It was just kind of a blanket thing. Just, like we like having him on the team. We consider catching to be a strength. Yeah, catching is a strength when you have, I think, the best catcher in the league on your team. But, a lot of people would give up a ton of prospects, and if you are trying to tank right now, with the rumors of Chris Bryant being on the trade market, you don't know where Javi Baez is going to be next year. You're giving up Yu Darvish, who is a Cy Young contender. You have Kyle Hendricks. These guys have a lot of pieces that can be traded for a ton of good prospects. They can go right back into tanking mode, and if Jed Hoyer's the guy who came up through Theo Epstein and is like the quintessential GM, that's exactly who you want to run your team, because wherever he goes, he wins championships. If this guy knows baseball the way that he does, I feel like you have to be all in or all out. Are you going to win, or are you going to tank and trade off all your assets to get a bunch of pieces that are going to work? Anthony Rizzo, are you going to have him be a Cub forever? I don't know. He didn't have a great year last year. He still has, the abilities to make another team a World Series contender. You're going to trade Anthony Rizzo. You're going to trade Javi Baez, or you're going to trade, Chris Bryant. You already traded you already let Kyle Schwarber go. You're letting Victor Caratini go. Wilson Contreras could be on the move. Kyle Hendricks. Is he going to be on the move? You lost John Lester. Jake Arrieta left. So, what are the Cubs expecting to do? I don't know. I just read you who they got in their prospect lists. They could be an exciting team. I think if Addison Russell's just gone. You don't have any trade value for Addison Russell. I think Addison Russell, you just got to gut until whatever happens. But you have legitimate trade value for Contreras, Hendricks, Rizzo, Bryant, Baez. You might have to just eat Hayward's contract. He could be the vet that comes in and plays every day that, the guys just kind of ride behind and, teaches them how to play, because Jason Hayward is a good player. Let's be real. But, I just named 6 players that have legitimate trade value that could get a very heaping, just an amazing amount of prospects back, some really good players. You can pretty much map out an entire team. Then really all you have to do is, find out who's going to be in the starting rotation, and then, just figure out the staff, because if you get enough prospects and enough of them kind of pan out, you can get a couple free agent signings in there, and you can dish a couple of those prospects for a big-name vet who just kind of teaches them how to play the game in the postseason, and there you go, you have a contender again, and you have a contender in less than probably 3 to 4 years. I think that's a think it's a pretty good rebuild. So we'll see what the Chicago Cubs do. They seem to be the team that is making the most moves. And then there's another little thing that I found, a little nugget where, Francisco Lindor is on the trade market. He's going to be a free agent next season. The Cleveland Indians aren't going to have enough money to re-sign him. Scratch that. They may have enough money to re-sign him, but they're never going to pay the amount that is going to be needed to re-sign him, so they're going to let him go. You could see him, obviously, on the trade block. He has been one of the big guys named on who could go and who is going to stay, or who's going to go during the season. He was rumored to be traded last season. He stayed with the Cleveland Indians or Cleveland blank, whatever. I don't know what to call them anymore because, they're going through a name change even though they haven't actually chose the name yet, which I have my problems with, but whatever. But they're also thinking about including right-handed starter Cookie Carrasco. So Cleveland beat writer Mandy Bell, kind of touched on a blockbuster trade possibility in an inbox column published on Tuesday, noting that it wouldn't be surprising if the club paired Lindor with Carrasco, who is set to earn $12 million in both of the next two seasons and has a $14 million team option for 2023. Cookie Carrasco is a very good pitcher, and having him under control for a potential 3 seasons for, that would be $38 million is a steal. And pairing those two up, they can get a ton of prospects. So I think that the Cleveland Indians are actually doing what the Cubs should be doing better than the Cubs. Being able to pair those two up, they have the pitching staff already mapped out. It seems like every single pitcher that the Cleveland Indians bring up from their AAA system is the man and is going to be great no matter how long he's going to be in the big leagues. And then, you're mapping him. You're kind of bringing in, Francisco Lindor into that. So really what they're doing is they need to, get the lineup right. And I think if you're able to get, something like the Cubs were able to get with their deal for Yu Darvish, kind of in an Indians uniform, map out that middle infield, because the middle infield is actually, the more we've gone through baseball, the more crucial it's been to have a solid middle infield. And then, I would say just the outfield in general, the corners are cool, but the corners are just middle infielders that didn't really pan out, or middle infielders that have, way too good of an arm to play short. So I think that, if you're able to stack middle infielders in your farm system and kind of figure out what to do with those type of guys later on, I feel like it's perfect. So being able to pair Cookie Carrasco, because let's be real, over the 12 starts in 2020, he's got a 2.91 ERA and a 10.9 Ks per 9. Come on. This guy's an incredible pitcher. You can put him as a third starter and be looking fantastic going forward. I'm curious to see who's going to get him. Who's going to go get Lindor and who's going to get him. I feel like this is a move for the Mets. The Mets are trying to, if the Mets are really, really, really trying to go for it, they can't let this offer slip away. They can't do it. They'll have DeGrom, they'll have Stroman, they'll have Carrasco, they'll get Noah Syndergaard back. I think, what was it, July? I think mid-July they said Syndergaard's going to come back, so it's going to take him a little bit. So maybe, hopefully, he could be hot by September. Really get a feel back for his pitches and everything like that. And then, you can go grab Sugano. And if you have that as a starting 5 with Edwin Diaz closing out in the bullpen as he's more comfortable in New York, you got Jeurys Familia still. That's a team that has the opportunity to do some damage. And with this is just I would, if you're a team looking to contend, sell the house for Carrasco and Lindor. This is a can't miss trade, and whoever gets them is definitely going to be in the top 3 World Series contenders for next season. All right, everybody, I'm going to be taking my final break, and we'll be right back. There was a there's a bit of discussion around 3 guys for Hall of Fame eligibility, and we're just going to discuss I'm going to discuss if I think that, which of these guys should end up in the Hall of Fame, or if not, do all 3 deserve it? I don't know yet. We'll be right back.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
All right, guys, real quick, before we close this out, I'm not going to keep you very long, but there's been a little bit of a debate about who should get into the Hall of Fame out of these 3 guys. Should all of them get in? Should none of them get in? Should 1, 2? How many? Which combination? So the list of people was Andy Pettitte, Mark Beurhle, and Tim Hudson. First-timers all on the list, and, kind of curious if they were going to get into the Hall of Fame. Most notable is definitely Andy Pettitte. He's a 5-time World Series champion. He was the ALCS MVP. He was a 3-time All-Star. His 60.2 career WAR. He has 256 career wins, 153 losses, a 3.85 ERA in 521 games started. Let's see. He has thrown 3,316 innings, 2,448 strikeouts, and a whip of 1.351. Like I said, he was a 3-time All-Star, 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting. He was a top 5 in the Cy Young Award voting. 4 times in his career. He received MVP votes twice. In 2005, he was 24th on the list. I don't know why they gave him so many. And then in 1996, he was 14th. Like I said, 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting. He's a 3-time All-Star. Andy Pettitte, let's see, he won 20 games or more twice in his career. He won more. He got double-digit victories in all but 2 years in his entire career. So in his age 32 season in Houston, he only started 15 games. He went 6-4, and then his age 40 season, he started 12 games, went 5-4. So, and he pitched all the way until he was 41. His age 41 season was still pretty good. He was 11-11 with a 3.74 ERA. Not terrible. ERA plus above 100 in every season besides one. It was 2008. He went 14-14 with a 4.54 ERA in 33 starts. He had over 200 innings that year, and he just missed the mark by 3 points. He was 97 when ERA plus above, like, league average is 100. So he was slightly below average. He was far above average in every single year. A career high in 2005. He posted a 177 ERA plus. He had a 3.0 FIP. Andy Pettitte was just a dog, dude. He was an absolute dog. He had a career 6.6, a career 6.6 Ks per 9. He had a career high of 8.6 in 2004, his age 32 season, the year that he spent semi-injured. It seems like he hovered pretty much between, his lowest was 5.5, his highest was 8.6. So pretty much you were getting at least 2 innings of Ks out of him. An absolute innings eater. Listen to these. Listen to the amount of innings he made throughout his entire career. 175 his rookie season, 221, 240, 216, 191, 204, 200, 134, 208, 30 or 83, 222, 214, 215, 204, 194, 129, 75, and 185 in his final age 41 season. He was pretty much a 100. Let's go through his 162 game average. He was good for 17 and 10 with 214 innings, giving up 92 earned runs. Let's see. He would have an ERA of where the frig is ERA? Oh, here it is. A 3.85 ERA. He was good for a 117 OPS plus, or ERA plus, sorry. A 374 FIP and a 1.351 WHIP. Andy Pettitte is a Hall of Famer, 100%. He started over 30 games. Let's just go to see how many games he started throughout his career. The answer is 531, but just listen to this. Starts 26, 34, 35, 32, 31, 32, 31, 22, 33, 15, 33, 35, 34, 33, 32, 21, 12, and 30. Hall of Fame. Andy Pettitte's in there. Andy Pettitte is absolutely in the Hall of Fame. I don't care what anybody says. He is a Hall of Famer. 100%. Let's move on. Andy Pettitte. God, he was the man. Let's see. Let's go to Mark Beurhle. Mark Beurhle is the guy that I was kind of on the fence about. So he has a one less win above replacements than Andy Pettitte. So let's go through his stats. 59.1 WAR. He's got a 214 wins, 160 losses, 3.81 ERA. In let's see, he pitched in 400. He had 493 starts, 3,283 innings. He had 1,870 Ks, a WHIP of 1.28. He's a 5-time All-Star. He won the World Series in 2005. He won 4 total Gold Gloves. He played for 3 teams: the White Sox for 11 years, the Marlins for 1 year, and then the Blue Jays for 4 years. Let's go through his numbers quite a bit. Once again, absolute innings eater. Ate up innings, ate up games. He pitched in over 200 innings every year of his career besides his first. And his last series, or his last season at age 36, he missed the 200 innings mark by 1 1/3. So we're counting that. Let's see. So we had an ERA plus of above 100 in every season besides 2. He missed the mark by 1 and 5, actually. In 2006, he was an All-Star. He was a 95 in ERA plus. In 2013, he wasn't an All-Star, and he was a 99 ERA plus. Let's see. He was good for a career 5.1 Ks per 9. He had a 2.0 walks per 9 inning. His WHIP 1.28, as I said before. He had a 117 career ERA plus. His FIP was 4.11. Let's see. He had, like I said, he had 1,800 strikeouts. Not the biggest power arm, but he had 3,283 innings, and was good for 14 wins, 11 losses, and a 3.81 ERA. Let's go a little bit further. So he's, like I said, he was a 4-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove. He ended 1 time in the Cy Young Award voting. He was 5th in the Cy Young votes. See, this one, he's the most consistent pitcher in the game. He's only 1 behind Andy Pettitte. I think this guy should be in the Hall of Fame. That's just me. I don't see him as a god tier type of guy, but it doesn't get more consistent than Mark Beurhle. Let's go through his records throughout his career. So in 2000, when he entered the league, he was 4-1. He only started in 3 games. So let's go from his first season starting to his last year. Let's go by wins and losses. 16-8, 19-12, 14-14, 16-10, 16-8, 12-13, 10-9, 15-12, 13-10, 13-13, 13-9, 13-13, 12-10, 13-10, 15-8. Let's go for games started throughout his career. Rookie season 3. He started he got a legitimate starting pitching job at age 22 in 2001. 32, 34, 35, 35, 33, 32, 30, 34, 33, 33, 31, 31, 33, 32, 32. Let's look at innings. 51.1, 221, 238, 230, 245, 236, 204, 201, 218, 213, 210, 205, 202, 202, 203, and 198.2. If you're looking at it as, if you're an NFL guy and you're looking at Frank Gore as the number 3 all-time rusher, and he's not spectacular, but he has the numbers to back it up. He 8 innings. He was a consistent 14-11 guy. There are worse guys in the Hall of Fame by a long shot. I feel like Mark Beurhle should get into the Hall of Fame just based off being available. The best ability is availability, and he was always there. You knew what you were getting out of him. He was a 5-time, he won a World Series. He was a 5-time All-Star. He won 4 Gold Gloves, and he has one of the most immaculate plays in baseball history with the between the legs flip to Paul Konerko. Put him in the Hall. Put him in the Hall. Last up, Tim Hudson. Tim Hudson, he has a 57.9 WAR, 222 wins, 133 losses. He had a 3.49 ERA in 479 games started, 3,126 innings, 2,080 strikeouts, and a 1.23 WHIP. This guy I'm more on the fence about. He was as consistent can be, really. He was, and it is what it is. Let's see. So let's go to his accomplishments. He was a 4-time All-Star. He won the 2014 World Series. He played 5 seasons with the Oakland A's. He played 8 seasons with my Atlanta Braves. And then he had 2 seasons with the San Francisco Giants. 3-time All-Star. Let's see. Rookie of the Year. He was 5th in the voting. He was a Cy Young, top 5 in the Cy Young finish 3 times. He got 1 year, he got some MVP votes. That was 2000 when he was with the Oakland Athletics, when he was with the 3-hit monster of Zito, Mulder, and Hudson. Let's look at his 162 game average. So this is what you were getting out of him on an average season: 16-9, 3.49 ERA. In 34 starts, he would average 221 innings. Let's see, his ERA plus would be 120, FIP of 3.78, a WHIP of 123, 6.0 Ks per 9, and he would average around 147 strikeouts per season. Not too bad, not too shabby. He was a bit more injury prone than the other guys on the list that we were speaking of earlier, because when we look at his games started, 21, 32, 35, 34, 34, 27, 29, 35, 34, 22, 7, 34, 33, 28, 21, 31, 22. So, towards the end of his career, he was able to he was missing some starts. His innings, 136, 202, 235, 238, 240, 188, 192, 218, 224, 142, 42, 228, 215, 179, 131, 189, and 123. He was a 20-game winner once. He only had two losing records, in his career. It was his last 2 seasons with the Giants. He finished 9-13, 8-9 on the season. The guy was just consistent. I don't know what it is about Tim Hudson, but I just feel like he isn't in the Hall of Fame compared to those 2 guys. Maybe I'm weird about that. I gotta be hard on. I gotta leave somebody out. He was below league average in ERA plus 4 times: 92, 94, 97, and 87. I could go without Tim Hudson in the Hall of Fame. looking at all these numbers, knowing what he did for the Atlanta Braves, because like in 2005 to 2013, that was the peak of his career. That was his absolute prime. He was 29, going through 37. You know, or let's go with his last year, and let's go with his last 2 years in Oakland. Last 2 years in Oakland, so 2003 to 2010. That was 27 to 34. That's about a prime, right? So you're looking at 16-7, 12-6, 14-9, 13-12, 16-10, 11-7, 2-1, and then 17-9. You know, you're looking at it. He made above 30 starts 3 of those 7 years. You know, he was kind of injury prone. He only amassed 200 innings also 3 times out of the 7. In that prime, you know, he was, you know, the numbers are just kind of underwhelming. I think we got our deal. I think we got our 3. So we got Andy Pettite in the Hall, Mark Beurhle in the Hall, Tim Hudson. We can leave him out. What's up? Let's take it down. That's what we're doing here. And that's how we're going to end it. All right, everybody. That is going to be our show. I will be back on Friday with a brand new episode. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your families. And enjoy your life, I guess. Enjoy 2021 to the best of your abilities. You can follow me on Instagram at EvanWardley23. You can play me in Tap Baseball if you're bored. The nickname is EvanWardley23. And I would like to thank you all for listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask you to please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review, because it really helps us out. And also, if you could please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you all, and have a great evening.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.